Welcome to my channel, Living Linux. I saw that there's a lot of discussion about the decision of Fedora to allow AI assistant contributions. People that have been following my channel, they probably have noticed that I showed AI apps or tools, but all of them you were able to use them locally. So let's just say once you have downloaded and installed the software and the models, then you can cut off the internet connection and you can still work with the AI software locally. So let's just say I see AI sort of similar like a knife. It can be a very good tool, a handy tool. It can help people to do their work faster. For instance, like let's just say a cook. But of course, a knife can also be used, let's just say, in criminal ways, in a bad way. And yeah, also, even if your intentions are good, then with a knife, you have to be careful that you're not harming yourself. So that's sort of the way that I look at AI. It can do a lot of good things, but you should not look away from, let's just say, the potential harmful ways. Now, the decision of Fedora to allow AI assistant contributions. I think in itself, I agree with the decision. But like I said, I'm not against AI. And perhaps if you want to have a summary, then perhaps read this article on the register. And well, I'd say try to have an open mind and have a look at it. And I mean, like I said, AI can have its dark side. So I'm not looking away from that. But I'm also saying that it can be used for good. Now, I also saw like reactions that people said like, oh, I'm going to leave Fedora, I'm going to find another distribution. And then, yeah, of course you have to wonder like, well, which distributions will allow AI assistant contributions and which ones don't. So if I look at, for instance, openSUSE, perhaps they have not really allowed AI assistant contributions like code, but they already use AI tools for, let's just say, parts of their workflow. So here you can see that they have a tool openQA, and yeah, so they use AI that will assist them in their openQA framework. So probably, let's just say, their testing framework. And they also have their own large language model. And they use that primarily to detect legally relevant text like license declarations, code, and documentation. So that's not the code itself, but they do use it in, let's just say, their workflow. Now, are there distributions that outright ban AI generated code? Yes, there are at this moment. So here you can see an article and it says NetBSD and Gentoo, they will not allow it, at least not at this point in time. Because there's also one other thing that I'd like to point out, that although this headline says Linus Torvalds hates AI, if you read the article, then I would say it's more that he says that he hates the hype around AI. And that so far, he doesn't see a good way at the moment to use AI to help with the kernel development. So yeah, they asked the question, but might AI have a role to play in the development of Linux itself? So he admits he doesn't like AI, but he also says not in the sense that it's this horrible hype thing that everybody talks about. But here he also says, but at the same time, I'm hoping that in 5 years or maybe sooner, we will be in the situation where we take AI for granted and we actually have these everyday tools that aren't just writing. Now, you can say that he still doesn't really say out loud that they will use AI to, let's just say, assist in writing code. But what you can see here is that they're saying that they are working on making a model that understands the kernel source code. So they're not there yet, but there are people working on that. So also here you can see the direction where they're going. So I would say the kernel developers, they will use AI once it really helps them. It's not there yet, but from, let's just say, the way I read it, Linus Torvalds, that he wouldn't be surprised that in 5 years that they also will use AI tools in their workflow. So, and then you can start wondering, like, once it's in the Linux kernel, then what is a distribution like Gentoo going to do? Because it's already in the kernel. Are they going to move away to some other sort of kernel, like moving to BSD, something like that? So yeah, the way I look at it is that we're at the start of, let's just say, the AI journey. And I don't think it's going away. And if that's a good thing or a bad thing, you can have a lot of discussions about it. And well, I would love to see your view on this in the comments. But yeah, let me say this. Try to write things objectively. I mean, of course, I can understand that people have a lot of emotions on this topic. But please try to explain why you are feeling, instead of only saying like that you're angry without any explanation. Because otherwise I don't think there's really a possibility for a real discussion. But yeah, especially with what Linus Torvalds is saying, or at least the way that I read it, is that you shouldn't be surprised that with the kernel development, that in a couple of years, that they will use AI to help them with their workflow. Now, one of the other things that I read a lot is that people say like, oh, but so many people will lose their job. And yes, that might be true. I mean, like what you hear, let's just say from Microsoft and probably other big companies that have a lot of developers, coders employed, that they are looking at, yeah, trying to do more coding with less people, helped with AI tools. And I've worked for around 25 years in IT. So yeah, if I still had that job, then yeah, I also would have to think about my future, because if they need less people, then yeah, you risk losing your job. But on the other hand, I'd say that is, let's just say, something that has been happening for millennia. And for instance, if you look at the way books were written uh, like many centuries ago, that was done just by hand. And later on, they invented the book press, and then they were able to distribute many more books, and actually per book they needed less employees. So yeah, the whole thing that people will lose their job, that is not something new. It's perhaps new for programmers and developers, that up till now, let's just say, if you live in Europe and the US, let's just say the Western world, then you might have seen that yeah, a lot of developers are now coming from cheaper countries. One prime example is India. So from that perspective, developers, coders, they already saw a lot of competition, but that was just from other people. And now with AI, yeah, they might get a lot more competition, not just from other people, but from AI programs. But here is this example about books. So yeah, I think you can find a lot of other examples. Let's just take farming. Let's just say the crops that yeah, that you can harvest with big machines, big equipment. Yeah, that you only need like only a few people to run a very large farm. So yeah, I can understand that there are people in their current jobs that, yeah, they have to think about their future once AI really takes off, and that companies really start using AI a lot, and that they might need less employees. But again, that has been happening in a lot of industries, and so it's definitely not the first time, and very likely it won't be the last time. So like I said, I'm not against AI, so yeah, that's my bias on this story. And I would love to have a discussion with people, but please, like I said, keep it civil. Don't get too emotional, and try to talk about the subject in a, well, at least try to be objectively, and don't just talk from emotion. Because then I think if you just talk just from your emotion, I don't think it's possible to have a good discussion. So I think, yeah, like I said, I think AI is not going to go away. We will probably see more events like this. And yeah, the reason for me to make a video about this, because I saw a lot of discussion about the decision from Fedora, but also, let's just say, from what I think, the things that have been happening under the radar, so that you can see in which direction it is going. And even with someone like Linus Torvalds, that he's not ruling out that they are going to use AI tools in the future. So this is all for now, and I hope to see you again in my next video.